V'hoya hanara asher omar elea hatina kadech, the young lady that I say, incline your jug, tilt down your jug, ve'eshte, ve'amra, and she says, shesei v'gam alecha ashke, osa hochachta le'avdecha liyitzchak. That's the one. Uva eda ki yasisa chesed imadoni, and then I will know that you have done a chesed. Now the commentators here talk about, first of all, why is he allowed to rely on omens, right? We do not use omens. Shmaya, ask them if they could don't close the door. Just ask them if they could keep it down. Thanks. In Torah, we don't use omens. There's a prohibition. There's a prohibition of relying on superstition and omens. The whole idea of a black cat crossed your path, right? The prohibition specifically is if you do or don't take action because the thing happened. It's one thing if you say, ooh, a black cat crossed my path. Oh, that must be bad luck. But you just go on about your day, so then there's this silliness. But if a guy was going to make a trip, I was planning a trip for today. Ooh, a black cat crossed my path. I cancel my trip. Then it's over. You're break. It's a what do you call it? It's an isser. You're breaking a Torah law. Same thing about if a piece of bread fell out of my mouth while I was eating. Oh, it's a bad sign. And you take action based on the sign, action or inaction based on the sign. So then it's appropriate. Maybe yes, if you could turn on the air, the what do you call it, just to get a little airflow. So that the Torah says you're not allowed to do. So over here, why is Eliezer allowed to look for signs? I have my own suspicion about all these. You ever hear it's bad luck to walk under a ladder? Did you ever hear that? I'm sure all these things started logically. Some guy walked under a ladder, some other guy dropped a bucket of paint and fell on his head and said, yes, it's bad luck. I think it is bad luck to walk under a ladder. I wouldn't walk or he knocked over the ladder, the guy on top fell over and got killed. Yeah, it's bad luck to walk under. If a black cat crosses your path, it's bad luck. Yeah, especially if it's a panther. Yeah, it's generally very bad luck. All these things I would guess that there was it started somehow. So all of these things are what do you call it? All these things are prohibited. Why is Eliezer allowed to look for an omen over here? Why is he looked over a sign? The commentators explain there's a difference what kind of sign you're looking for. Here he's looking for a logical sign. What's he looking for in a wife for Yitzchak? A girl who's going to do chesed. He's looking for somebody who's going to do chesed. So if you see a girl who does chesed, that's the sign you're looking for. It's like a guy saying, well, if I see a sign, I got to make a trip. I got to travel by ship somewhere. I got to travel by boat somewhere. If I see a sign, there's a hurricane coming, I'm not going to travel. That's a logical sign. So there's a line where the sign is a logical line. If I see the market is going up, I'm going to invest. There's a logic to it. So if there's a logic to it, that's something else. Number one. Number two, why does he go? Somebody asked yesterday, why does he go? We spoke about why does he go to the water hole? The answer is because, why don't you just find out who Avram's family is over here? After all, he's looking for Avram's family. Find out who is Avram's family. Knock on the door. Come in. Hi, have you got a daughter for a Shidduch over here? We got a Yitzchak on the market. Have you got a daughter over here? So number one, he's got concerns. If he goes to the house and he realizes that these are somewhat deceptive type of people, somewhat dishonest people, yeah, you better turn it off, Ron. Just turn it off if the noise is there. He's got what do you call it? Boy, could use some work up there, Shmira. If you realize these are deceivers, maybe they'll deceive him. Maybe they'll give him something like, as we find later, Yaakov was indeed deceived over it when Yaakov tries to marry Rachel and Lavan deceives him. So they're not really the best people in the world over here that you want to deal with. So he's worried. But even more than that, if he does something, the girl does something for him, he's going to put the girl to the test to see if she's a balas chesed. In the home, maybe it's because her parents are around that she has to behave a certain way, or maybe the family name, at the water hole, there's nobody to impress. There's nobody to, what do you call it? Let's see what she's really like over here. And therefore he goes to the water hole. So then the Torah says like this, Vahiyu terem kila ledaber, he had barely finished speaking. Second line on 112. V'hine Rivka Yotzeitz, Rivka was coming out, and the word V'hine, any time you see the word V'hine in the Torah is generally a surprise. because this is the first time she's ever been out of the house, according to the commentators. Asher Yilda leBesuel ben Milka Eshes Nocher Achi Avram. So she was born to Besuel, the son of the son of Milka, the wife of Nahor. So Avram's brother, Vikado al Shichmo. She's carrying a jug on her shoulders. Ve'anara tova asmara me'od. She's very beautiful. Bisula. She's a virgin. V'ish lo yada'a. No man had ever been involved with her. And the Torah is telling you, on the one hand, she's beautiful. No man had ever been involved with her. So that's already a sign of her tznius. And the commentators say even more than that. There are certain people, there's such an aura of refinement about her that nobody got involved with her. I think you've met people like this in life. There's certain people, you could be sitting in a room being crude or telling certain jokes or whatever it is. Somebody else walks into a room, no, around this person we don't do that. The person has a certain aura about him or her. Certain girls that we're not going to get her involved because she's too refined. We have too much respect for her. Right? She's created that aura. By the way, this I've seen this with people who are meticulously careful about speaking Lashon Hara. We could be sitting in a room gossiping, yet somebody walks into the room who we know has already established a reputation of not speaking. We'll stop talking about it. We're just too embarrassed to talk about it. Around this person, we don't do it. So she has such an aura that V'ish lo yada, no man, even though she's beautiful, men stayed away from her, not because they didn't want to, because we have too much respect for her. Her we're not going to corrupt. V'atered ha'ayna, she goes down to the well, and the commentators point out that's also her tznius. She doesn't bend over. She goes down. She goes down. It's a much more discreet way of doing it. V'atemale kada v'atal. She fills up the jug. Torah is telling you all these details. Now watch what happens here. It's very, very subtle. Vayaratza eved likrasa. He goes running towards her. All right, according, the Medrash says she was 3 years old. Okay, 3 years old in those days. And people say, 3 years old? I mean, and you have no problem that Avram lived to 180, 175. That you're okay with? That we're fine. If it was high on the other end, it could be low on this end. That we're not bothered by. Whatever it is, she's a little girl. And also, this man comes running towards her. What would your reaction be? Look how poised she is. Vayomer hagmi'inina me'at ma'im mikadech. Let me have a little bit of water from your jug. Now let's see how he reacts. This is the test. Vatomer, she says, Shesei adodi, drink. Vatemaher vatored kada al yada. She hurries up and lowers her jug. Vatashkeo, she gives him to drink. First thing she says is, I'm going to give you to drink. Why do you have to announce it? Just take down the jug. Because the guy's obviously thirsty. First thing I want you to know, I'm going to take care of your thirst. Put your mind at ease. That's the subtlety. Put your mind at ease, and she hurries up and then brings down the water. Just saying that, yes, I have something for you. That's already, as opposed to lowering it, number one. Vatechala ashkoso, she finishes giving him to drink. Vatomer gamlig malecha eshav, I will also draw for your camels ad im kilu lishtos, until they finish drinking. Now, take a look at what Eliezer said on the previous line, on the previous page. At the bottom of 110, I want you to compare this. Because at the bottom of 110 it says, V'haya hanara, 2 lines from the bottom. V'haya hanara asher omar eleha hatina kadech ve'eshta, the young lady who I say, please give me to drink. The Amra, now her response, Eliezer is asking for the following response. When she says to me, Shesei, drink, and I will also give to your camels. That's not what happened here. Here she gave him to drink. He finishes drinking, Pasuk Yud Tes, 19. Vatechal, it's only after he finishes drinking, then what does she do? Vatomer gam legamalecha eshav, I'll draw for your camels, ad im kilishas, till they finish drinking. So the commentators go to town here. They go to town on this little exchange. Number one, Eliezer wants to test what kind of common sense has this girl got. That means he's going to drink. What's she going to do with the leftover water in the jug? Right, there are 2 choices. She could bring it back to her house, which isn't very smart, because who knows what kind of diseases he may have. You don't bring water from some stranger drink, then you're going to give everybody in your family to drink from the same jug. Who knows what he's carrying? What's the alternative? You pour it out. That's insulting. I drank from it, and therefore you pour it out in front of me, right? You're telling me that I got a problem over here. There's only one solution. What's the solution? I'm going to give to your camels, because the animals, obviously, animals aren't as diseased as easily. They aren't as affected by human beings, right? So number one, shows her common sense, right? So there's a certain tact. I'm not going to take it home, and I'm not going to pour it out and insult you. I'll give it to the camels. Oh, a kluger girl, a kluger maidel, right? She got some common sense. Good. She's attractive. She's got some common sense. But there's another subtlety. Look what she said. Imagine a guy knocks on your door and he's got a dog with him. They come in and I'll give you and the dog something to eat. You hear a problem there? You and the dog could have something to eat. Here's what you just said? You said, me and the dog are basically the same. If she said, come on, I'll give you and the camel something to drink. Right? There goes that shidduch, right? So that's what she doesn't do that. First, she gives him, and she waits for him to finish drinking. And after she finishes drinking, then she says, and now I'm going to give your camels, and I'm going to give your camels completely till they're finished. So you have nothing to worry about. Now, there's an interesting Gemara. All right, ready for this? Gemara says, Rav Nachman and Rav Yitzchak were once sitting at a meal. And Rav Nachman said to Rav Yitzchak, say a dvar Torah. So Rav Yitzchak said, you don't speak while you're eating. Gemara explains why you don't talk while you're eating. Because the food may go down, you have a trachea and you have an esophagus. And the trachea has a small covering. There's a small a membrane covering the trachea called the epiglottis. And when you speak, the wind opens up the epiglottis, and that's where the wind comes out of the trachea. So that makes it, when your voice comes out of there, the air comes out of there. If you're speaking while you're eating, so that's why when you're not talking, the food can't go down the wrong pipe because it's covered over. If you talk and then you speak, then you eat, so chas v'shalom, the food could go down the wrong pipe, a person could choke. Okay. So Rav Nachman says to Rav Yitzchak, say a dvar Torah. So Rav Yitzchak says, we don't speak at a meal. Then the Gemara says, after they finish speaking, so Rav Yitzchak said, Yaakov Avinu never died. So Rav Nachman said, what do you mean he never died? The Torah says they embalmed him. They said, he says, I have a pasuk, and based on a drasha from a pasuk, Yaakov Avinu didn't die. That's the end. That's what the Gemara says. That's how Gemara reports it. So one of the commentaries asks, why was that the a lot of divrei Torah he could have told him. Right after the meal, he says, Yaakov Avinu never died. Why were you telling him that dvar Torah? Were you telling me that Yaakov Avinu didn't talk while he ate? Is that was the point? Was the point? That's why he didn't die. He never choked while he was eating. Well, why did you say that dvar Torah? So the Ben Ish Chai says, you know what he was trying to emphasize? He wanted to show him, why don't you talk while you're eating? Why don't you talk while you're eating? So we think there's a danger to the guy who's talking. So he said, no, I want to show you there's a danger to the guy who's listening. Because if the guy who's talking says something shocking, so the guy who's eating may all of a sudden have a reaction where he wasn't expecting to talk. How does he show that to him? He says, Yaakov Avinu never died. What do you mean he never? That's why you don't talk while you're eating. Because what if I would have said that during the meal and you had food in your mouth? You would have said, what do you mean? Oh, you don't talk while because that could happen. Even my brothers and I, sometimes I'll tell my brother, my kids, I'll say, guys, I got to tell you a story. Don't drink right now. Don't drink right now, because I'm anticipating they're going to laugh. Then the liquid's going to come out of their nose or something. Don't drink right now, right? So the commentaries say she waited till he finished drinking and then said, I'm going to give to your camels. Why? She was worried that if he's drinking and she announces that she's going to give the camels to drink, he's going to be so shocked that he's going to start choking on the water. And therefore, tactfully, she waits. Don't tell. He's drinking. That's why the Torah emphasizes, she waits, she finishes giving him to drink, Pasuk 19, and only then, vatomer gam gavalacha eshav arim kilu lishtos. Number one. I'll get to you 1 second, yes. Explanation number 2, there was no reason to declare her intentions until she was ready to do it. That means if she says to the guy, here, drink, and after you finish drinking, then I'm going to give you camels to drink. Why are you announcing it in advance? If you're a person who does something for people, no reason to talk about it. You get at the point that you need to talk about it, you talk about it. Otherwise, there's an idea of life. Don't go talking about yourself. Your actions are enough. Why are you talking about what you intend to do? She's got the class and the tactfulness. That's what he's looking for. What are you going to ask, yes?
So if she's anticipating the shock value of her offering to fill the camel, does that indicate that she knows that he is anticipating because he davened for it and because he's
No. This is to the contrary. That's why he doesn't say who he is, what he wants. All he's asking for is some water over here. This is just a test. Just a test to see who she is. It's just a test to see who she is. To the contrary, he doesn't want the test to be biased in her direction in any direction. That's why he doesn't even ask her what her name is. Because she says, well, my name is Goldman. And now she's got the family name on the line, so maybe you're going to behave nicely so people should say something about the Goldman family. You understand? That's exactly, he does the commentator say, that's why he doesn't even answer her name yet. Okay. So, Vatemar, she finishes, she runs to the well, and she draws for all the camels. Paysach 21. V'ha'ish mishta'ela, man's looking on in wonder. Macharish, he's silent, ladas, he's silent, wondering, has Hashem already brought him success? In the commentary, you know why he's silent? Normally you say, thank you, wow, what a nice girl you are, wow, you're really wonderful. Not even a compliment, because maybe that'll motivate her. I don't want any outside motivation here. Let's see what she really is. And she finishes drinking, she finishes the cameras, and then he's convinced. So he puts, in Paysach 22, Vayikasher kiglu agbalim lishtos, Vayikachish nezem zohov, he takes a golden trinket, a golden nose ring, Beka mishkolo, a solid piece of gold, Ushnei tzemidim al yodeha, puts 2 bracelets on her hands, Asara zav mishkol, each one weighed 10 something or others of gold, 10 measures of gold. So, you know, that's a nice gift. It's very significant here, gentlemen, because we're going to see a very big problem in a second. Vayomer bas miyat hagidina li ayesh beis avich makom lalin. Whose daughter are you? Tell me, is there any place in your house to sleep? This is also a test. Because when somebody asks you a few questions, how do you answer? Answer in the order of that you were asked. That's derech eretz. If I ask you 3 questions, answer in the order. And here, after he's given her the gold, A, let's see how organized her mind is. B, let's see if she got all for a tumult because I gave her the gold. One of those, a drama queen, right? Let's see how balanced she stays. V'atomer love bas besul anochi ben milka sheyolda lenocher. Okay. V'atomer love, she pauses. Now answers the second question. Gam teven gam mismo ravi banu gam makom lalon. And now enter my favorite character in the entire Torah. Right? This is the guy I associate with most. Right? So she runs home and then skip down 4 lines. 4 lines on page 114. Ula Rivka ach ushmo Lavan. She's got a brother and his name is Lavan. Vayaratz Lavan el ha'ish hachutza elai. Lavan goes running out to the man. Sister comes in and introducing Lavan. Well, what does Lavan mean? Obviously, white. Isn't it interesting? The biggest deceiver and con man that we ever meet in the Torah, and his name is Lavan. And what does white normally symbolize? Purity, truth, all good things. The good guy dressed in white. And his name is Lavan, which I suspect is also part of his deception. I suspect that that's part of his deception, number one. And it could be that the people in town, he promoted himself as a tremendous tzaddik and whatever it was. His name is Lavan. You see, there's much more depth to it. Lavan means, when you look at this wall, the wall is white. You know what Lavan means? When the wall is white, a background is white, all possibilities remain. Put any colors you want on it. Nothing has been determined yet. This is a guy who, no matter what deal you close with him, all possibilities are still open. Doesn't matter what you agreed on. It's still as if nothing was ever agreed on. He's going to be changing and switching and deceiving the back and forth, right? That's what's contained in the name. Now, Lavan comes into the picture, and look at that. Now you have to pay attention very carefully because it's very subtle. It says, "Vayoratz Lavan ela isha chutza ela ayin." He goes running outside. Why is he running out? Well, your sister just came in with gold on her nose and on her wrists. Your sister's covered with gold. There's a guy out there giving out gold. Lavan goes running out. But look at the next pasuk. Vayihi kiroses hanezem v'satzmidim al-yedei achoso. When he sees the nose ring and the bracelets, ukeshamo es divrei Rivka achoso. When he hears the words of Rivka, lemor, that Rivka said, "Ko diber elai," as the man said. Vayavo elaish, he comes to the man. V'hine omed ala gemalim alain. The man is standing with the camels by the well. Now, first of all, it's out of order, because the previous pasuk said he went running out. And it's only afterwards, the next pasuk says, why did he go running out? Because he saw the bracelets on the thing. It was when he saw the bracelets. But the Torah doesn't say that's why he ran out. It just says he ran out. Then it says, and when he saw the bracelets, he ran out. A, it's repetitive. B, it's out of order. So Rashi says the plain meaning is that the second pasuk is the explanation for the first pasuk. But it doesn't really answer the question, does it? So just put it in order. Just say that he saw the bracelets and therefore he ran out. You hear the problem. Okay, number one. Number two, why does it say, Vihine omed alagwan? The man is standing by the well. Remember what I told you what does the word hine mean? Surprise. Why are you surprised? Your sister just told you about it. That's what you're running out for. Why are you surprised? Okay. So, based on an al-shich, I think the idea is like this. In the second pasuk, when it says vayihi kiros, when he sees, there are two types of seeing, right? Even if I say to you, did you understand what I told you? Oh, I see. Doesn't mean you physically saw something. Sometimes it's just you see it in your mind's eye or you understand something, okay? So what's really going on here is, remember, we're talking about the prince of deceivers. There's no better deceiver, no better con man. Sister comes walking in with gold. The first, and by the way, one more point. In the second pasuk, when it says, it says, "Vayhi kiroses hanezem v'satzmidim al-yedei achoso, ukeshamo es divrei Rivka achoso lemor kudiber aleish, vayavo el ha'ish." He comes to the man. Really, it should say, "Vayaratz el ha'ish." It should continue. He's running. He was already running, right? Vayavo means he comes sauntering up to the guy. Doesn't mean he's running. Why did it change from running? Why did it change from vayaratz to vayavo? Right? So what's really going on here is like this. First reaction is to run. Gold, run! The second pasuk says, Vayehi kiros, when he sees in his mind's eye intellectually what his sister's got on her nose and on her hands. He realizes, oh, 1 second over here. There are all sorts of possibilities. All sorts of possibilities here. And the last thing I want to do is appear too eager. So he slows himself down. Vayavo comes walking over. Vihine. Oh, oh, wow. Shalom Aleichem, stranger. I'll say he's surprised. What are you surprised about? You ran running out for the... I don't want to look too eager here. Oh, he's surprised. Oh, he's surprised. Now we begin the negotiations. This is Lavan. That's why I told you, this is the guy that this is the guy I admire most. And this guy, he's good. He's really good. We'll see how good he is when we get to Yaakov, but he's really good. Right? Not as good as I was playing Monopoly, but he's really good. I tell you, when I used to play Monopoly with my brother, I was always the banker. I found that helping myself my brother didn't like the fact that I took quarterly bonuses. And I told him, as the banker, I'm entitled. And what it really bothered him, I did this, I'll tell you why I did this. I got this idea from the Westerns. You watch these guys are playing cards. right? And the guy's got like he's got 3 of a kind, and he throws it down, and he starts reaching for the pot, and the other guy says, "Not so fast," and he throws down, a straight flush or something. I always dreamed of being able to do that to somebody. So what I used to do is I play like a Monopoly or Life or one of these money games with my brother. So what I would do is I managed, I'm not going to tell you how, but I managed to keep track of how much money I had and how much money he had. So let's say I knew he had $10,000. So we'd play for an hour and then count out. So in the course of the game, I would kind of stash money under my yarmulke. And when we count out, I would put down, I'd say, okay, 9,000. And my brother would count out, he'd say, 10,000, yes, right? And I'd say, not so fast, right? And then I'd pull down another 2,000. It was so sweet to disappoint him after he thought he won. And then there were accusations of financial misappropriations, right? Like, hey, where did you get that money from? That sort of thing. Oh, it was so good. It was nothing felt better. It got to the point where he was doing it too. We never trusted each other to count out even. Do you have any more money on you? Put it on the table. All of a sudden he's pulling out of his pocket. We're pulling out from here. So Laban comes, okay. That's why he's doing it. He's doing it because he realizes that he can't look too eager in life. Now slow down and let's think about this. Now I'm going to tell you an incredible pshat. The Orach Chaim HaKadosh says, if you notice when his name is introduced, if you take a look, 4 lines from the top, it says, Ulerivka ach ushmo Lavan. Now it could have also said, Lavan shmo. Lavan is his name, besides being Lavan as a shmo. But it could have said, Lavan shmo. It says, ushmo, and his name is Lavan. It could have said, and Lavan is his name. So there's a rule. Whenever it says the name before it says Lavan Shmo, we find this in other places in the Torah. There's an evil, wicked man named Novel. It says Novel Shmo. That means he's no good. When it's a tzaddik, it says Ushmo so-and-so. So it begs the question. Why does it say Ushmo Lavan, which is the structure used for tzaddikim, as opposed to Lavan Shmo, which is a structure used for Rishoyim? So the Orach Chaim HaKadosh says like this. First of all, again, I personally suspect that, again, the structure that the Torah uses is part of his own deception. It's an indication of his deception, painting himself as a tzaddik. The Orach Chaim says something incredible. He says, Rivka comes home, is a girl who, in a country of corruption, moral corruption, they're no good, bunch of no goodniks, but she is good. And she comes home and she says, there is a guy at the well hitting on me. There's a guy at the well talking to, a stranger was talking to me at the well. At that point, Lavan thinks to himself, that's a breach of morality. With my sister, he was running out to kill Eliezer. That's what the Orach Chaim says. At that moment, he was standing up for her virtue. At that moment, he was a tzaddik. When he ran originally, he was a tzaddik, because he was going out there to stand up for his sister's virtue. That's what the Orach Chaim says. Ushmo Lavan at that moment. I've seen this, by the way, where you could be no. I've seen guys who themselves are no good, and they get upset with like, "Don't you mess up my brother? Bad enough that I messed up. Don't mess up my brother." I've met guys who've left the path of Yiddishkeit. They're no longer from, but they got a brother, the yeshiva bacher, and somebody is already tampering with their brother who's still in the fold, and they go, "You mess up my brother, forget about me. Don't mess with him. He's good. He's going to stay good." Right? That's what Lavan's doing here. And at that moment, the Orach Chaim says, at that moment he was a tzaddik. That's why I call the Shmo Lavan. Okay. So he invites them into the house, and He invites them into the house, and Eliezer goes through a whole speech over here, and he says that I was sent to take him, and he even shows them a document that Avram Avinu has transferred all of his possessions to Yitzchak. That always is a good way to convince people it's a good shidduch. And, there's a little bit of gelt also, not so bad, right? Now there's not a little bit of gelt, there's a lot of gelt over here. Okay, so they start negotiating. And he tells them, he goes through the whole story. Now, one of the things that Lavan had a vested interest, sorry, not Lavan, Eliezer. If you take a look, at take a look at Perek Chof Dalet Pasuk Lamed Tes. It's on page, top of page 116. This is while he's telling over the whole story. So he says to them what he said to Avram Avinu. Well, top line on page 116. Va'omer el Adoni, I said to my master, Ulai lo selech ha'isha acharoi. Perhaps the woman will not go with me. You're sending me to get a shidduch for Yitzchak. Should I bring her back? Should I bring him down there? And Avram Avinu said, no, don't bring Yitzchak over there. Now the word ulai over here could have been written with a vav. Take a look at Rashi. Ulai lo selech ha'isha. Top line of Rashi, right column. Top line of Rashi, right column. Ulai lo selech. Says Rashi, Elai ksiv. Elai means to me. To me. Bas haisa lo Eliezer. Eliezer had a daughter. V'haya mechazer limtso ila. He was trying to find a reason. Sheyomer Avram lifnos elav lasil bito. Eliezer was hoping for the shidduch. He's got a daughter. Yitzchak's a fine young man. He was hoping that Avram Avinu would say, yeah, Eliezer, let's make a shidduch together. Eli. So Rashi said over here, right? Amar lo Avram. Avram said, sorry, it's not going to work. Bini Baruch, my son is blessed. Ve'ata Oru, you're cursed. You from the Canaanites. The line of Canaan. Oru Canaan, Oru Cham, Canaan, Eved Avodim Yelechav. Noach gave a curse to Canaan. You're cursed. That's not a shidduch that goes. Ve'ein Oru Midabik B'Baruch. You can't, it doesn't connect up. Eliezer is saying to them, now pay attention carefully. He's saying, I had a vested interest. Why is he only realizing it now? Up until this point, this conversation took, why does Rashi say it here? Why doesn't Rashi say it in the original conversation between Avraham and Eliezer, back on page 108, 110. Fifth line on page 110. Vayomer elav ha'eved. See that fifth line? Vayomer elav ha'eved. This is in the original comment. Ulai lo sove ha'isha lelech. Maybe she won't go after me. There it's got the vav. And it's only now when he's telling it over to Lavan and the family, he says ulai without the vav. When Rashi says, oh, you know what? He really wanted to marry. He wanted it for his own daughter. Why did you tell me that originally? Why didn't the Torah write it that way originally? Why originally with the vav? You know what the answer is? The answer is that sometimes in life when you got a bias, you don't even realize you had the bias till later. While you're in the trenches, you don't even realize it. Game over, because he found the girl. Now he found the girl. Oh, you know what? I really kind of wanted him for my own daughter. You only realize it later. What's the key? In English, there are two words. You could say maybe, you could say perhaps, right? Or in fancy English, you could say lest. L-E-S-T, you've heard that word? Lest this happen. Okay, now, if I say to you, I don't want to go on a motorcycle, the guy says he doesn't want to ride a motorcycle because maybe there will be an accident. Or he says he doesn't want to go on a motorcycle because perhaps there will be an accident. Or he doesn't want to go on a motorcycle because he says, lest there will be an accident. Which is the one that indicates most that he doesn't want to have an accident happen? Lest. I don't want to do that, lest it'll happen. I don't want this guy to visit, lest he'll want to marry my daughter. It's difficult, a little tricky in English. If I say somebody's coming because he might want to marry perhaps he'll want to marry my daughter, does that indicate that I'm against it or for it? Perhaps I might be very much for it. If I say I don't want this guy to visit, if this guy visit, lest he marry be interested in my daughter. That indicates I'm against it, right? In Hebrew, there are two ways to say maybe, perhaps. You could say ulai, and you could say pen. Pen is like lest. When Eliezer says to Avram Avinu, you hear where we're going with this gentleman. Eliezer says to Avram Avinu, what if the girl doesn't want to follow? Now there are two ways. You could say, perhaps she won't want to come back home, or lest she doesn't want to come with me. Perhaps she won't want to come with me, or lest she won't want to come with me. Which one? You hear the difference over here. If you send, Avram is sending Eliezer, bring a girl back for my son. He says, perhaps she won't want to come with. That doesn't sound like he's too upset, does it? If he says, well, lest she doesn't want to come with, then what do I do? Then that means that you really wish she would come with, and you're just worried that maybe she won't want to come with. But if you say, perhaps she won't come with, that sounds like you're not all that upset about it. What did Eliezer say? He didn't say, pen, she'll refuse. He said, ulai. What does ulai mean? Oh, maybe she'll refuse. Because I got a daughter too, you know. Right? That's how we see that he has got a personal vested interest. Because he's using the word ula. I said to my master, maybe she won't come with. And it's only now that he realizes, oh, you know, why did I say maybe like that? Oh, right, I have a daughter. That means somewhere in the subconscious. And when do you realize it? Realize it when it's finished. I won't even admit it to myself while it's happening. But now that the game is over, because I see that I found the girl, now I can admit to myself, you know what, I did have a vested interest there. And that's the word ulai. Eliezer has a vested interest. So what is their reaction? Look at the first reaction, because this is going to change. So he goes through the whole story, and take a look at the bottom of page 116. Vayan Lavan u'Besulel, Lavan and Besulel, 3 lines to the bottom of page 116. Lavan and Besulel, they say to Eliezer, Me Hashem yatsa davar. It came from Hashem. Sure, when there's money, it always comes from Hashem. Right? Yeah, this looks like a good shidduch. Lo nuchal daber elecha ra'u tov. We can't say bad or good. We won't interfere. Here's Rivka. Hine Rivka kach v'lech uteisha leven adonacha kasher dibra Hashem. Take Rivka. Let her be a wife for your husband. Yeah, because this sounds good. So now comes the line. Then I think this is the Torah's sense of humor. Oh, Eliezer at this point, now he's happy. Oh, wonderful. Take a look at Paysach, the 3rd line on the page. Vayotze ha'eved klei kesef u'klei zahav u'begadim. He pulls out gold and silver utensils and clothing. Can you imagine Lavan's face at this moment? Eliezer reaches in the bag, he starts pulling out gold and silver. And they're like this. Vayiten Rivka. He gives it to Rivka. He pulls out and he gives it to her. And what do they get? And they're waiting for waiting for our gift silently. Umigdanos nosan leviolima. He gave the brother and mother some fruit. Because the brother might give them some. Oh, have a pomegranate from Israel. Maybe an esrog too. To the mother and brother. And I always laugh when I see this. Where's Besuel? Where's Besuel? Besuel died. Because when they were sitting at the table, Besuel tried poisoning Eliezer. He didn't want it to go through. And they switched around. The Malach came and switched around. He ate his own poison. Besuel's out of the picture. That's why it's only back to her brother and her mother. Besuel's out of the picture. Now, an interesting man, this Besuel. In Hebrew, Besuel is related to the Hebrew word Besula, which is a virgin. Besuel was the king. He was the ruler of this area. And he had a bad habit. People resented the habit very much. Whenever a girl would get married, she had to live with him first. That kind of gets annoying. And the people said at a certain point, oh yeah, well, that's the custom, huh? Let's see if he does it with his own daughter. If he does it with his own daughter, so fine. If not, we're going to kill him and his daughter. So you got a problem over here because we can't have that happening. On the other hand, so what's the only one way to relieve this problem, which is what? Besuel's got to be taken out of the picture. So Besuel dies. So that way the people won't kill him and Rivka together.